Before we get started on evidence, I want you to see that bag there. You see all this? This isn't even all of it. Now, mind you, with each one of these people that I called a predator, well, according to the law, there are very specific things you have to do to be considered a predator, and certain people you have to do it to. I happen to qualify, which is unpleasant for these people who chose to commit crimes. Much of what I'm doing right now is showing you the complication of the situation. The screenshot for this particular video is Officer David Martinez. Now let's tell you about David Martinez. Multiple times he's bullied and harassed me, or, well, when I had to try to turn him in for that, I also had to try to turn in the fact that here's the thing, I was always trying to turn in the abuse from Andrew Wolnez and his friends, throwing fireworks under my car, stuff like that. There's lots of video evidence of this stuff. They just would not, still haven't stopped. But they destroyed my car, and then my car got impounded. Here's the quote-unquote funny thing. So I had to try to turn in David Martinez because he had bullied me. He assumed that I was a schizophrenic druggie and treated me like shit. It's not okay. And I had to repeatedly try to turn crimes into him, although Timothy Sadler was the one that I ended up having to turn stuff into the most immediately after a situation, such as when Molly was beating on my vehicle and smashing stuff against it. So we got this stuff ahead of us. We're gonna get back into what we were doing before this all started, and I'm gonna try to put a link in the comments, but I'll show you the Tillamook Headlight Herald news article about David Martinez. He was allowed to. You're gonna recognize this term a lot from me. It's predator shuffling. So when a police officer or a mental health worker, or like one of these people at TFCC or at CARE, or any of those places, at the jail, when you have a legit case against them and they know that there's nothing they can do about it, one of the things that they'll throw in your face is, well, he doesn't work here anymore. Several times, several of the people who were predatory towards me, who worked on the staff in the jail, when I was trying to turn them in, that's one of their excuses. Oh, yeah, I know, but he doesn't work here anymore. That doesn't make it okay. So, we can get into all of that later on. The stuff in the jail is a much more complicated situation. That's all of this. This is documentation, handwritten documentation that I was hoping to be able to use to get the body camera evidence of the abuse. And it was really, really, really bad. They know how to manipulate the system and basically try to peg their victim as a schizophrenic idiot. Now, the DA's office comes in real handy on this because they did all of the coordinating. They coordinated with Timothy Sadler when I was arrested. Let me tell you about the 3 times that I was arrested, because it is important. The first time was right after the A&E special started posting up their advertisements. So the A&E special about Natalie Bollinger, let me pause this and pull it up and I'll show it to you. All right, so I get treated like I'm schizophrenic and delusional about talking about how popular Natalie Bollinger's thing is, and also how they try to paint me in every one of these as a stalker. I didn't stalk her. I wasn't even allowed to go to court. Like, here's the thing, is that you can't just prevent a disabled person from turning in their fucking predators and then pretend that they're a predator. So, of course, it says, who killed her? And it's going to talk about me a whole bunch, and then it shows that Joseph Michael Lopez did it. Right? So, these are from a year ago, some of them, a couple of them from a month ago. You can see this one isn't in English. That one's not in English. That one's not in English. That one is not in English. That one is not in English. That one is not in English. None of these are in English. Well, a few of them are. And of course, I get treated like I'm schizophrenic because I say those things. There's actual proof that you can see for yourself. Now, let's go to... We'll type it in here again, because that one I looked at from a web search. Here's the one that Deputy Taylor referenced. Mind you, this guy just goes out of his way to try to make me out to be the most creepy MRF on the planet, right? And at least these ones are showing Joseph Michael Lopez's face, or Natalie's. But see, the thing is, Natalie Bollinger was not my victim, I was hers. And I was never allowed to show that because of the mentally ill tag. Alright, I should probably continue a bit so you guys can see how many there are. Now, in all of these, see, there's me right there. This is how he starts. A picture of me being assaulted by border police. They were supposed to be taking me somewhere safe so I could make a police report. They pretended like because I said I didn't want to be there, that I was attempting to kill myself, and that is not the case. This is where I ended up with nerve damage, and, well, they really messed me up. But you get to see there are just so many of them. This lady right here, like, all of these people, they go out of their way to ignore the truth. She blocked me from her channel for showing actual evidence, sending links to actual evidence, because she slandered the hell out of my name, just like all these sites. She pretended that all these sites tell the same story. No, they don't. Some of these places pretend that I went to Virginia to stalk Natalie when she was 13 years old, blah, blah, blah. No, she was an adult before she was allowed to be my friend. When I went to Virginia, it's because she was going to end her life over her family and her ex-boyfriend. And those are the same things that Joseph Michael Lopez said. So, as much of a liar as he is, there's a ring of truth to it. These people claim that I was obsessed with her. No, you look at the actual evidence, it shows, first of all, that we were friends, and then when we were no longer friends, well, then I had to deal with the stalking. I drove 1,700 miles to get away from her and decided never to talk to her ever again. Apparently, that's not good enough. And there's, like, I'm still scrolling through. And here's mine, thank goodness. All right, here's this one. You know what A&E is, right? It's a TV channel. See, this is about Natalie Bollinger here. They pretend that this is a delusion as well. It absolutely is not. Now, when did this first air? Oh, come on. Sorry about that. Now watch this. This is how these channels start.
Justice for Natalie Bollinger group, and I joined it, and there was only probably I'd say 500 members at the time, but at the end of the day, there was 2,000 people in there. And everyone was speculating, putting their theories out there, pointing fingers. When you start looking at it, I mean, it just, there's something that's weird there.
I'm so freaked out because, she's never done anything like this before, and I think
That's
something's
not
wrong
true.
here.
It's absolutely not true.
That this whole situation is off. Her boyfriend called me and he goes, well, I can't find her. She's missing, so is my gun.
Yeah, my predators have guns and I don't.
In the 21st century, we leave behind the digital story of our lives, the chronicle of our...
Alright, so there's the way that they paint this out and the way they paint me out. I spent 7 years passing out blankets to the homeless, walking them to warming centers and homeless shelters. Alright? What I got from Natalie Bollinger, she helped me out a little bit. Yeah, we were friends. But then when she was messed up on drugs and had all sorts of craziness going on, I didn't deserve that. I helped out people. That's what I did.
She was very excited.
And I did fast forward to this, to the part where they talk about me a bunch. Among these is 37-year-old transient Sean Schwartz. I wasn't 37.
She saw this man that was sitting on the street, and people were just passing him.
This is not true either.
And he just talked to her, and she just listened to him.
So here's the thing. That's not the truth. See, one of the pieces of evidence that they keep using while they pretend that I'm schizophrenic and delusional is the email from Natalie Bollinger about her father and his abuse towards her and her family. We met because she was selling drugs to homeless drug addicts for her father. And it's in that email. These people pretend that I threatened to kill Natalie Bollinger. That never happened. I threatened to expose her predators and mine, including Ted Bollinger. And I did expose Ted Bollinger with that email. Now, that's not what these people paint, is it?
She was like, you can add me on Facebook, treated him like he was a human being. And that's...
Now, that part right there, that's a little bit true. See, while her and her sister were 13 years old and selling drugs for their dad on Pearl Street, I was trying to run them off because they were always wanting to come talk to me. Like, no, I don't want to hang out with any little kids. That's not okay. And in the messages between Natalie Bollinger and I that all of these places seem to want to ignore, she admitted that. She said thank you to me for that, and so did her sister. But that doesn't fit the narrative, does it?
She carried on.
You see, that's me with, I want to say, 7 dogs on me. Now, see, that's it. You guys can go through that and listen to as much as you want to. But the reality of the situation is they just slander the shit out of me. Nobody cares to hear my side. Nobody cares to look at evidence just like this situation. They will just ignore it and pretend that I'm a drug addict and a schizophrenic, despite the fact that there is so much evidence to the contrary. Now let's look. When I tried to turn in this abuse to Tillamook Family Counseling, let's fast forward it to that part, right? John Holland, it says, this writer interviewed client over the phone regarding a request for community consultation. Due to client's recent aggressive and threatening messages to the weekend worker, this assessment was completed over the phone. Really? Really? When? It also says, after the interviews records were reviewed and the report written. The report was then emailed to opposing attorneys and submitted to the Tillamook Circuit Court. Client presented with multiple paranoid delusions related to the police and agencies in Tillamook. Paranoid delusions. I was trying to turn in people physically assaulting me, and you have gotten to see the recordings of those assaults. And there's a whole bunch more recordings of assaults too, by the way, and threats against my life. And of course, the police and these agencies wanted to run me around in circles for housing, telling me they're going to get me in contact with the right person. Is that what John wrote down? No. He pretended the situation with Natalie Bollinger, which he went out of his way to ignore that altogether in this one. This one, he just focused on the police and police agencies in Tillamook. So let's pause here for a second. We're going to use the term predator shuffling for John Holland as well. I can't turn in the abuse by him because he no longer works there, apparently. So the fact that he lied in my paperwork or made really big mistakes intentionally is pretty important. By this time, I'd already met John Holland, and I'd actually gotten to try to show him a video of an assault. It did not go well. John Holland also, by the way, happens to be the name of the inventor of America's first quote-unquote modern submarine, I guess. So he's got the same name as a famous person. Now, if you remember, the courts said that I was supposed to work together and send evidence to an investigator through TFCC. Okay? So you guys got to see some of the messages to that investigator. She wasn't actually an investigator. She was the, hold on a second, let me find it. Due to client's recent aggressive and threatening messages to the weekend worker, this assessment was completed over the phone. Okay, so what do we have to deal with as men? And what was I dealing with at the time? Well, I was dealing with a situation with David Sinuez, who was a sexual, well, he raped some people. I was also having to deal with Massam Vijan and what he tried to do to Stormy. And I was also having to deal with people getting a hold of me, and, well, you get to see what they wrote here. Oh, sorry. This one, for example. And yeah, these are the messages that I sent to the investigator. She was supposed to be an investigator. Okay, so they're literally threatening to kill my family, literally committing hate crimes. Calling me names like that, of course, makes it especially lovely, right? And of course, there is so much of it. And then this person tried pretending to be my friend Claire, and so on and so forth. I'm sorry if some of those were doubled up. I was not sure if they were coming out clearly or not, and my hands were shaking like you wouldn't believe, because while I'm sending her this stuff, I was having to deal with people victimizing me. You get to see how many pictures there are of these situations. That's just with one guy, okay? And then as we go down, you're seeing how much I'm showing her, how much I'm sending her. This is supposed to be an investigator, not a quote-unquote weekend worker. And these are obviously not threats against her. These are threats against me. I was told to take screenshots and send the screenshots. If there's any videos, try to send her the videos. And if people are saying things to me, I need to actually write down what they're saying to me, or type it to her what they're saying to me, or voice to text. So this is Massam Vijan. Don't get me confused, man. I ain't no fucking
see. I'll stab you right in your fucking eyeball and kill your fucking ass. My fucking heartbeat. Never.
Okay, so that was Monday, April 15th. Then there's all of these screenshots that show how many restricted calls I actually had to deal with. All right, these were not police officers calling me in most of these situations, and I'm sorry, some of them are blurry. Like I said, I sent extras because some of them were blurry. 70 restricted calls there, it says. Sorry, I'm trying to show you. The police, the hospital, TFCC workers pretended like these were delusions, figments of my imagination. Like there's some of these were thousands of them in a day, all right? And then stuff like this. Now, we showed this in some previous videos. So, we already know that that crap exists and that this is what I was sending to them. Hey, this is literally what these people are sending me. And let's scroll up a bit more. There's right here the stuff that I was typing. Through all of this, I was letting them know that these are things that people are sending to me. Obviously, this is what I'm supposed to do. It's a predator. And I wrote, let's play a game. Which one of these calls is from the police and which ones are Andrew Wolnez, Ted Bollinger, Chris Stafford, Tim Beeson, or Kara Johnson Miles calling to threaten to rape my sister up the ass with a fence post? And then, of course, that's where these pictures came in. This is literally what people are threatening. So, come on. We scroll down through those. I wrote, here's some more, do the right thing. And then, of course, this is while the Stormy thing is going on and the Sinuiz thing is going on. And I've got people yelling at me and screaming at me and telling me that I'm a fake and all sorts of stuff, that I'm not trying to help victims turn in crimes, that I'm a mandatory reporter and I need to... This is something I've had to deal with from the very start of this. When I tell people about the mandatory reporter laws, they automatically assume I'm a mandatory reporter. They start threatening me. They start harassing me. They start calling me names. And you guys have gotten to hear, you know what? When I am going through this stuff and people are doing this stuff to me, I get on my YouTube and I'll scream all of that stuff and I'll explain this is exactly what I'm going through. And of course, this is a very similar situation. And we're going to go through this because out of all of these threats and harassment against my life, people threatening to stab me, they're pretending that I threatened them. That's not the case. And then, of course, right here, call back within 24 hours, effing liar. Well, no, I didn't lie to these people. I absolutely didn't. Yeah, I know that a mandatory reporter has to turn it in within 24 hours, but I'm not a mandatory reporter. And these are the things that people were screaming at me, and I'm supposed to type this stuff, right? And then, of course, people typing at me that I'm a piece of shit. People telling me that I need to do my job because I'm a stupid cunt. This is over the situation of turning in the abuse against Stormy and turning in the abuse from David Sinuiz in. I was trying. You guys can see I recorded the situation and I posted it on YouTube because trying in real life is going to get me arrested for improper use of 911. So for the week before that A&E segment popped up, I had a lot of people who saw those advertisements, and yeah, I was getting assaulted a lot. So when that A&E segment came on, and mind you, Natalie had been dead for 7 years by the time that came up. Okay, that refreshed everything in everybody's minds, and all of a sudden I just had a massive influx. I basically had to hide out in the Safeway for a few months, and this is at the request of people at Safeway. And then, of course, they want to... You wonder where I get all of the names from, all of the dirty stuff that I scream out on my YouTube. I learned it from somewhere. you get to see in all of those screenshots over and over and over again. And this is what these people are telling me. You know, they're calling me they're telling me that I'm helping these pedophiles out and stuff like that. And no, that doesn't feel good. And yeah, I spoke up about the people that were. People telling me to go F and kill myself. And I typed here, I am harassed, threatened, or assaulted daily. I don't give a fuck what excuses you make. They aren't good enough to cover this. Like, seriously, this one right here was actually from me. And yes, it's aggressive at that point. That part right there was directly from me. And yes, it is exactly the same stuff that other people were screaming at me. I basically plagiarized most of that from a woman here in town named Valerie. But it literally had happened the same day. And, you know, I believe it was Valerie. Um, and so I was like, those are the perfect words for this situation. Um, and of course, I tried to send this stuff again, hoping that she would see it. Now, mind you, this started on April 15th. This is supposed to be an investigator, and they're supposed to call me back within a few hours. And then, of course, they're supposed to call back within 24 hours. And when I was trying to tell these people who wanted to turn in this abuse, I was like, well, I can try to turn it in by myself, but it's not going to do any good. Once we go in together and we turn it in, they have to turn it in immediately to law enforcement, and within 24 hours, they have to make a written report. And after you've made the written report, they usually tell you that they're going to call you within 24 hours. But the thing is that I'm not a mandatory reporter, and I keep telling these people that. Reporting it to me is not the same thing as reporting it to a mandatory reporter. So let's get further down here, and there is a lot. And of course, April 17th. This is a few days later. I still haven't gotten a call back. I've tried to call them. And this is, while I was talking to one of the homeless dudes about this, he reminded me that Kylie, this is what he had told me. Kylie is the lady who had laughed at me in TFCC here because I was having a mental breakdown over being treated like I'm schizophrenic over the Natalie Bollinger situation. He reminded me that Kylie was the lady who had laughed at me. I'd forgotten that she'd laughed at me. But this is some stuff that I was literally having to hear screamed over and over and over again. This stuff right here. Like, you guys get to hear me on my YouTube channel screaming this stuff so you know that it's happening. All of this stuff. This one right here, you know, this is just another one of those situations where, you know, I'm literally having to deal with this, and I'm also having to deal with other people telling me, oh, well, I've got this going on, turn this in, turn that in. You know, it's literally a whole bunch of stuff that people are doing to me and sending to me. And this one right here, I don't know what's wrong with that one. The situation, like, word whatever, and just some of them don't come out right. So this one right here, I don't remember the exact situation with that being sent. But mind you, there was a fucking shit ton of stuff going on. And of course, with me shaking hands, and of course the situation with not being good with electronics, and then the situation where I'm being sent in a whole bunch of different places and just running around like a chicken with my head cut off and having to try to get somebody to listen. And then there's this one. If you help these predators get away. Yeah, this one right here, too. All right, so I remember now. These were all situations over the situation with Stormy. This one right here was a situation where this is like the stuff that Mossam would scream all the time. All the fucking time. Any woman that wouldn't have sex with him has to deal with this. That's the one who you got to hear him threatening to kill me at the beginning of this. And I'm listening to these people who are mad at me, angry with me for not turning it in, and I'm trying. And they're literally telling me that they're going to kill me. Not just threatening to kill me, there's a lot of other stuff that they threaten too. Like, it's the YouTube, like, I had to deal with so much of an influx of people getting onto YouTube and typing stuff in there. Like, I literally just had to click down and like block like 10 or 15 different people just so that they would stop. And when you do that, of course, it destroys all of the evidence that they were doing it to begin with, which is one of the reasons that I take screenshots. And there's a bunch of those too. I just didn't have access to that. And then, of course, there's this one that says, and I'm not kidding, 7 goddamn years of you pieces of shit getting my loved ones killed is beyond what any human should have to endure. I will not be bullied by you ever again. So that one is a situation where, like, by this point, I've already been bullied repeatedly by TFCC staff for trying to turn this in. And this is the stuff that people are sending to me and saying to me. And I'm literally having to send it to them. And how are they going to take it? Probably not well. It's kind of like when you have to go to somebody who beat you up and you have to try to turn in somebody who beat you up to them. Or you have to go to an officer who raped you to turn in somebody else who raped you. It just, when you try to turn in a rape, they're going to possibly assume that you're trying to turn them in or you're talking about them, and then you have to deal with the same crap. So it's an impossible situation for me. Let me see, what's this one? This one's from my sister. I had to offer her $100 to come and help me. She did show up for the $100. I literally paid her $100 an hour for the stuff she did the day before, which was, she didn't look at any evidence. She sorted stuff, and that's not what I needed her for. But she was so messed up that she did her own thing anyway. I tried to put a good face on it. She wrote, I'm here, I made, and then when she left, she wrote, I made it home safely. I wrote, very good. She wrote, I was followed by cops, then had some guy threaten me that if I don't walk away now, me and Destiny are going to get hurt or even killed. So, like, I'm letting these people know. And when at all possible, I'm sending the actual screenshots. When at all possible, I'm sending, and it's a lot to go through. And then here's this. It says, obviously, I'm not out to kill anyone. I think this might be one of the Valerie rants, too. I don't think it is. It might be. I'll let you know at the end of it. Obviously, I'm not out to kill anyone. I'm making a point. You are seriously a fucking disgusting person for bullying me over making the noises I make. Ah, yes. Okay, so this is the one where, while I was talking about the situation, one of the homeless people tells me, Kylie, well, yeah, she's not the investigator. She's the lady they pretended was an investigator last time you were in there, remember? The one that you were making the funny noises and she laughed at you? And I'd completely forgotten about that. So I typed, obviously, I'm not out to kill anyone. I'm making a point. You are seriously a fucking disgusting person for bullying me over making the noises I make, pretending I can't be a victim because I'm not retarded enough. Meanwhile, I take actual harassment, threats, and assaults on a daily basis. Cops pretend it isn't against the law to assault me. How do you feel about that? Should I be threatened and assaulted and called mentally ill for calling 911? Do your fucking job. Like, at this point, I'm sick of people screaming at me to do my job. Screaming at me that I'm a pedophile. Screaming at me that I'm a rapist. Screaming at me that I'm a murderer. Screaming at me that this is my responsibility, that I have to turn in all these crimes committed against these people by David Sinuez. All of these things that are committed against, well, a lot of people. Yes, I was trying to help them, but they weren't fucking going in with me. It's not the same as going to CARE where they're supposed to be mandatory reporters. And it says, the fact is that you aren't fit to lick the shit from my boot. You committed disability abuse against me, and that's not fucking okay out of a supposed social services worker. It doesn't matter that some of the people who harm me are cops or your coworkers. You refused to do your job, and now people are dead. Understand how pissed off I am at getting sent back to your dumb ass to investigate your fucking self. Would you tell a rape victim they have to turn in rape to their rapist? Your way of thinking is completely devoid of reality. And if you don't, this one's also another fun one. By the way, this is another Valerie rant. Most of it is a Valerie rant. And the thing is that there are so many people out here that they're having the same exact experiences as me or very similar. Some of these people are schizophrenic and some of them aren't, but they're still getting run around in circles and they're being victimized by the same services I am. And of course, the stuff that she was saying, whether her stuff is a delusion or not, we can see that the stuff she was saying is not a delusion in my case. Natalie Bollinger is for surely dead. And of course, me and Valerie had already spoken by this time, and this is a part right here at the very end. Would you tell a rape victim they have to turn in rape to their rapist? Your way of thinking is completely devoid of reality. That's all me. It also, and if you don't get a real investigator here with adequate time to properly assess my situation, these predators, yourself included, get away with it. Now, that wasn't rude at all. But it also wasn't including any of the abuse that I was enduring. It didn't include any of the stuff that people are putting me through over this. And you want to say aggressive? Yeah, sure. But, look at it by this time. I'd already called them days before I started sending this stuff. Like, as soon as I was able to call them, I did. And this is the circles I got ran around in. You notice she never, ever replied to me. I didn't know if she was getting the messages or not. And then, of course, and I just recorded Officer Martinez playing head games, word games, and lying to me again. Not okay. Let's see, what's this one? With a crime rate of 41 per 1,000 residents, Tillamook has one of the highest crime rates in America compared to all communities of all sizes, from the smallest towns to the very largest cities. One's chance of becoming a victim of either violent or property crime here is 1 in 24. So I took that picture a long time ago. That was in 2024, I believe. And of course, right here I wrote, this is how Tillamook people think, violently. Between taking this man's suggestion to beat and stab people, I choose to record. This one's 1 minute and 58 seconds long.
I'm surprised John talked to me today, let alone ask me for anything.
Hope you
He's
can
been
hear it.
avoiding me since the second of last month when he decided to put his hands on me. Go for fuckers. You want to stomp one of them back, or all of them back, or some of them back, but keep stomping none of them back, or you fucking.
I'm not sure if you can hear that. So that guy is just telling me to thump him. He tells me to stab him. If I stab him, that they'll never try that again. So let's actually pause that. So the next one, of course, the same thing. How about a few videos of Andrew Wolnez and John Stevens assaulting people and threatening to kill them? And then, of course, this is a video of Christian Alexander threatening to kill people.
2023. This is where the situation with the youth of Tillamook ended up getting to the point that they were violent and a lot of other really stupid stuff. That's why I stay away from people that do drugs for the most part, and people that drink.
By the way, he was on alcohol and drugs at the time.
That's why I stay away from people who do drugs for the most part, and people who drink. People who do drugs and people who drink. But it's not a matter of judgment, it's a matter of safety. Sorry. I don't do you. I have, if I do, I'm not fucking around. Well, you do. No, I don't.
He threatens to kill them, by the way. He walked up to my vehicle, threatening to kill some youngins.
Is it a problem or I'm solving it? Follow me! I'm not that bad cop!
That's Christian Alexander.
Acting like I'm the goddamn guy! And eventually this will lead to me screaming for help. Did too. You're drunk! Look myself like boy! It's funny because it's mostly children driving. 16 to 30. Approximately. We'll pause this for part 2.
Alright, well, the name of the video is Christian threatening to kill people. And right here I typed Christian Alexander threatening to kill youngins in Tillamook, ages 16 to 30. Because of this, them youngins started vandalizing and harassing me. The last time one of them threw something at my car was yesterday. This is why Wolnez started his crap.
Continuing with the Christian situation, June 12th, 2023. He walked up threatening to kill people, so that's why I started recording. Yeah. I gave him a cigarette.
I gave him a cigarette. See? So, when he threatened to kill them, that's when they started targeting me. This one says, here's one more with Christian. I can only send 2 minutes of text, 2 minutes of video per text. And there's a bunch of them. In the next ones, you will get to hear them youngins calling me the N-word and using a bullhorn. So, mind you, they've got access to all of this evidence, all of this. So I recorded a ton. These are low quality, so I can make sure the video reaches you. Here's one with the bullhorn and the N-word rally at Tillamook Sporting Goods parking lot that Wolnez started his crap over. Chris Stafford was already tied up in a bunch of crap.
Alright, so this is a video called Misty Potter showing I told the truth, Tillamook, Oregon, no victim left behind, and racist youth. We're 46 minutes and 25 seconds into it.
Alright, we're going to end it there. This is a really long video. I lowered the graphics setting on my camera so that it could record for a little bit longer, but still, there's a lot to go through here. One of the things that we're going to go through on this one is how many times even this, right, exactly. Even after this situation, even after they realized that it was the truth, even after I sent all of that evidence, this is what they put in here. Did they admit the Natalie Bollinger situation or any of the abuse? No, they had access to all of that, and all of it they got out of any of it was I was threatening their, what do they call them? Community support worker. Absolutely wasn't threatening to kill anybody. They literally stated that I threatened to kill her. And that is not the case. But one of the other issues is, at that point in time, I'm in a state of panic. They literally never tried to contact me to find out what was going on. Not even once. They just fucking ignored me the whole time. Meanwhile, it wasn't an investigator. Now you can see how some of that stuff could be misconstrued. But also it's a situation where if they had looked at the fact that I'm being threatened and taken it seriously and called me, then we could have easily cleared that up. Like, there was literally not a single threat towards anybody at TFCC in any of that situation. Nobody threatened to kill them. Nobody threatened to stab them. Those videos and those text messages, those are threats that people sent to me. Things that people said to me. And that's important. They're not delusions. John knew these were not delusions. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. When we get further into it, you're going to realize how many head games they played in order for it to get that situation. Now, mind you, I'm also having to go through this crap about, quote unquote, being called mentally ill because I had to call 911 about people assaulting me. And of course, I mean, come on now. People threatening to kill me, people assaulting me, people breaking the windows out of my vehicle. How are these delusions when they're actually recorded?